All right, we are live on this week's edition of Halftime Hits, brought to you by Broadway Sports Media. Check out our content at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. You can find me, Jonathan, at JBOnBroad on Twitter, and Ryan, my co-host of the Coaches Corner pod, at Ryan on Broadway, and on game days at the at Coaches on Broad Twitter handle. And as always, you can find the main account at BroadwayTN. So I can already see it in the chat here. One half away from the number one seed in the AFC, and the Titans right now are dominating the Texans. It is 21-0 at the half. As always, let's start with what you're seeing on the offensive side there, Ryan.
First, process shout out to my nephew, Jack Watson, for his performance in hockey, Minnesota Little League. Yeah, mute me. 17 goals in a tournament in the Super Rink Spectacular. I'm very proud of him. Just want to get that out of the way. What I'm seeing from the offense is just them from the Titans here. They're doing what they want to do on offense for the most part. Frustrated early. You can see Foreman was a little frustrated because the lanes were clogged a little bit. They stuck with the run. You saw it kind of break open there in the second quarter, early second quarter, with Hilliard and Foreman being able to break apart there. And with this offense, if they stay on schedule, if they bust the runs like that and are averaging 4+ yards per carry, that opens up their pass game with like their little middle and crossers. They had great work to get Julio open out of a bunch set where they had Julio underneath on the bunch, or the interior bunch person ran him underneath and had a natural pick with the two guys going up the field, up the hash and on goes and corner. And then Julio's wide open and he can out athlete. So it's good to see Julio getting involved in the game. AJ Brown being involved as well is kind of what you expected to see from this Titans offense from the start. I get it. They're doing it against the Texans. So temper, but the fact that a lot of times in the past, this Titans team, and they started off very slow, has found ways not to put up 21 points on teams like the Texans. So the fact that they're doing this and taking care of business is a feel-good story to close out this season and prepare for the playoffs.
Yeah, and let's talk about Julio Jones. I mean, there's obviously been talks about, hey, what do you think about the actual trade and what the kind of impact that it's had there? Does this start to temper the I guess the disappointment that so far he has brought?
Season disappointment, no. And I hate to say this, the words about to come out of my mouth, that I agree with Paul Kaharski a little bit, but his point's true that one good game shouldn't overlook the entire season. But what I will say, not to be completely negative about this, is that what is positive and what's good looking forward is the fact that he is starting to build some chemistry with Tannehill and becoming an option in this offense finally. It's a good time to start doing it. And I think that Zach Lyons has been famous of, if Julio goes nuts or is productive or is a big part of this offense in the playoffs, then he views that trade as a win. And I'd have to agree with him there. That you didn't go out and sign Julio because of what he could do throughout the whole season. You signed him so the teams couldn't shut you down in the playoffs. And that very much becomes a factor here going into it from the second round on. Then it's a win as far as I'm concerned for this season for the Titans.
Yeah, and you continue to see, a successful running game. You got 70 yards in the first half rushing, and it's been pretty successful all around on the offensive side. And more kudos goes out to the offensive line, which continues to build on a solid performance from last week going against the Dolphins. Coming into this week, I don't believe they have allowed a sack yet. Got a little bit of pressure here or there.
I think one big pressure into Tannehill, yeah.
Ultimately, the offensive line is showing up, and you're not saying a lot about them, which is frankly what you want out of an offensive line.
You don't, as an offensive lineman, as a corner, you don't want people calling your name too much unless, I mean, obviously corner, if they're going to pick, you want them to call your name clearly. But if you're being talked about and analyzed a whole lot after the play's over, you don't really want that as an offensive lineman, because more than likely they're talking bad things. And the fact that they haven't said a whole lot, I know Lawan fell down on one play. Davis got away with a hold, but for the most part, you're right. This is like approaching 3.5 games of good football play from this Titans offensive line. And again, they're really starting to pick up steam at the right time. And I see the comment in the chat, and Derrick Henry's not even a part of this team yet. So this can only get better for the Titans the way that they're playing right now, or at least the potential.
Yeah, and I think you did see some big catch or big plays out of Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. He
Oh,
had the
sure.
touchdown at the end of the half, and then a great catch over the middle in traffic. Not a throw that many quarterbacks even attempt,
No.
and that's a pick if he doesn't go up and bring
Exactly.
that down. So it's really starting to fire on all cylinders, and then you're going to add Derrick Henry back to the mix in the playoffs. And let's talk about probably the most impressive thing of this Titans team so far, and that's the defense. I'm going to put a stat on here. The Titans defense has allowed 3 total touchdowns in the last 18 quarters of professional football coming off the bye week. 3 total touchdowns in a game, an NFL league that is built to score touchdowns. That is impressive.
Yeah, I don't care who the opponents are. The fact that you're able to keep those kind of numbers up is very impressive, and they're doing it in multiple ways. And we've said this for weeks now. That's just all 3 levels of that defense are playing well. And today you're seeing it. Cunningham and Long have been in the backfield on multiple plays when they're cutting off runs. The run fits are spectacular. Defensive line, Becco's making plays. I mean, it's not just 1 or 2 guys. This whole unit is just playing spectacular, good football, playoff level football. I mean, the fact that it's one of those things too, when the Titans start out slow, sometimes this offense does, most of the time this offense does, this defense having such a backbone and being able to stem the tide a little bit is really a good feeling for them. So they keep doing it today as well, and they're playing well. Fulton, we talked about on one of the routes where the Texans took a shot downfield, and Fulton's literally standing in the route path where it was supposed to go, and Mills is forced to overthrow it because he has nowhere to throw it because Fulton's just standing right there, and then the receiver has no chance to go catch up to it. So just little things like that people are just doing their job. And again, Jackrabbit's been really good, and you're not hearing his name a whole lot. He missed a tackle early, but in coverage, I mean, not a whole lot to complain about.
Well, we talked about it on the Coach's Corner pod about a couple of things, and that was, where's the weakness on the defense? There isn't one really. With the addition of Zach Cunningham, their ability to stop the run, they have the potential to be the number 1 rush defense in the NFL this year. I mean, part of that could be because they haven't blown a lot of teams out, but it really is something that I see the comment here, defense wins championships. I'm not sure that you actually win a championship with your defense anymore, but having a defense that can do what this defense has done and what you've seen over the past few championships, it has to be a defense that can be more than competent. So
agreed.
Defense really showing up. So let's talk about the approach to the second half. You are 1 half away from the number 1 seed. You are up 3 scores on a team that frankly probably has eyes into the offseason at this point.
Yeah, I think that you try your best to be as productive as you can with your first drive of the second half, and also slow and shorten the game. And what I mean by that is be efficient with your play call. I'm not saying just go all run. I'm not saying that, but I think you start to, if they go up 28 or if they go up another score or 2 here. So you have to keep them out of the end zone, the Texans out of the end zone. And then you have to, as the Titans, put up another score. I think that you start looking for your chances to start pairing guys out. Like if you're going to start taking offensive line out at some point, you get Tannehill out of the damn game first. Those kinds of things. You start to look for ways to get guys out so that you can start looking forward. Now, I don't want to say that you ever want to start looking forward, but this is very much one of those times, up 21-0. Houston's not really doing anything, but that's going to take effective, well-run plays early, especially in the run game. And the way that they've been running it towards in that first half, I think they very much could. And I think that you could see a long run from Hilliard or Foreman getting going here. And I see it in the chat here, getting Foreman a touchdown would be very, very well received. So that means you're running it a lot and getting him in there. Maybe give Simmons a chance to report as eligible this time and get him back in there for a lead block, because that was a heck of a job blocking by him and getting Foreman open in the end zone. But yeah, so that's my take on it is grind it out, get guys out if you can.
Yeah, elsewhere, it looks like the Colts are in some trouble going against Jacksonville there. And, ultimately, I think the Titans are a better team than the Colts. But I said it just from a sheer numbers point of view, beating a team 3 times in a single season is tough. So not a team if I'm the Titans. If I had a choice, I don't think they're scared of any team. But if you have a choice, you ain't picking the team that you've already seen twice.
I'm scared of the Titans.
Yeah,
in the play. I'm scared of the Titans beating the Titans. That's what scares me the most. And so I think that having a good, efficient game to finish this out, bring on whoever in the playoffs, the Titans are going to be this efficient.
No, absolutely. So looks like you got one half here left. If you do get into a snooze fest here, make sure you head over to BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Got lots of great content there. And also we got lots of merchandise that's floating out there. We added some, if you're a Nashville SC fan, we got some new shirts out there for the Coyotes, the Yotes. So make sure you check out all the great materials there. I'm wearing one of the shirts. I can attest that it is quality. So shop.BroadwaySportsMedia.com. I'll end it there. Make sure you check us out on the post-game show. We will be here for the reaction, even if the Titans have a massive collapse to lose the number one seed. We'll be here. We'll be here. And so, as always, I'm Jonathan at JB on Broad, joined by my co-host at Ryan on Broadway. Check us out, BroadwaySportsMedia.com, at BroadwayTN on Twitter.